Okay guys, year one, this is 4C. This is actually another easy one for us. All we have to do is the gradient of a line, aka aka slope, guys. And so the gradient of a line is the measure of the steepness of that line. The bigger the gradient, the steeper the line. We all know this stuff. So obviously, one of the tried and true ways to do this is to use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, this is another one of those times where you can switch x1 and x2, but if you do that, you better switch y1 and y2, and then you should be able to get that. So why does it make sense? It's rise over run. Rise, your y's, run is your x's. So you can determine this idea of the slope of this line. Look, again, this whole idea of making a line and then using this idea that we can make a right triangle. And guys, y2 minus y1 is going to give you, in this case, 2, and x2 minus x1 is going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4. Essentially, before we did the distance formula, 4 squared plus 2 squared, take the square root, we got the distance. We're not looking for distance, we're looking for rise over run. So rise is 2, the run is 4, reduce it, you get 1/2. So therefore, the gradient or the slope of this line is 1/2. That is something, guys, that we should be knowing. So, obviously, we could have positive and we could have negative. And we can have 0 and we can have undefined. So if the line is going from left to right up, or going uphill, it's a positive slope. If it's in this problem, it is falling downhill, it's a negative slope. And that's because we have a positive run, it says, and a negative height. So the rise is negative. You can have a 0 gradient when the line is horizontal. So this right here, that line right there has a slope of 0. It has a rise of 0. And if 0 divided by any kind of thing, anything, is still 0. But then we also have undefined gradient when the vertical line does not go left or right. It doesn't have a gradient at all. And remember, that is our vertical lines. Because you may have a rise of going up 5, but since there's no run, the numbers are the same. So 2 minus 2 is 0. And you can't divide by 0. So therefore, it's undefined. So, actually, I just answered the reflect questions down there. Remember, the gradient of a line describes its steepness and its direction. So, a gradient of 3 means that it has a steepness of 3 over 1 in a positive direction, versus a negative 3 would be falling. It's a negative direction. So, if I ask you to find the gradients of these two lines, the biggest and best way you can do this is to form, or find, if you want, you can find 2 points that are on your line. Find nice points. So something like 2, 5, and say 10, 1. And then you could use the slope formula, and that's what they did. They chose points 2, 8, 8, 2, because they do 8, x is on the bottom. Where are we? X is on the bottom. 8, 2, and then 4, 4. So I chose 2, 5, and 10, 1. So 2, 5, 10, 1. I should still end up with the same thing. So 5 minus 1 over 2 minus 10, negative 4 over negative 8, and that is 1/2. And guess what? Oops. That's not a negative 4. That is a positive 4. So it's a negative 1/2. So we still get the same thing. And so on, part B, we could do it the other way too, is that looks like a lot of those aren't too nice. It looks like I have a nice point here and another nice point here. I can do the second option is that I can make my own triangle. And I can say I go up 2 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I have a rise of 2, a run of 5, and so the gradient is 2 over 5. So guys, we've done this since Algebra 1. This should not be too much of an issue. And now they're talking about vertical lines And as you can see that if I take a point here and a point here, I may be going up and down, but since I'm not going left or right, it's going to end up being, on the bottom here, 1 minus 1, because they're both at 1, which is 0, and you can't divide by 0. So that's why it's undefined in part B. And then if I go the other way, so I'm going to erase all of this, and talk about, hey, 2 points here and here, not a big deal. My y values are the same, so when I subtract them, I get 0. But one of them can be at 1, so I think they're talking about this point and this point. So I'll take this one out. It's at D, and then at 0, 2, you end up, or 1, 0, you end up getting the fact that 1 minus 0 is 1. And 0 divided by anything is still 0. So it works itself out. Do the math. Either make your triangles if you want to use rise over run, or use the formula. Don't get your points mixed up. Now here's a cool thing. It says, hey, you can use your graphing calculator to figure this out. Guys, we've already done this before, because if you think back to what we did with our single variable stats, and you guys remember how you guys did the stats button, and you guys did the, sorry, I'm going to line, reg, and then it said AX plus B. Use this, so you're going to take these 2 points, you're going to put them in a table. Make sure you clear your lists. Put -2, -11 in a list, and 0, -5 for your X's and your Y's. Do stats, single variable stats, or go to line reg, sorry, AX plus B, and A is M, is your slope. So actually I'm going to put is the gradient, and it'll tell you the gradient. And so please do that. Make sure that you guys can get 3. And this one, they can make it so that say, hey, what if they tell you the gradient is something, and that one station is at certain point, what would be the other value of the height, or something. So they're giving you half of the problem, they're giving you test time the gradient, you need to go back and you need to solve for one of the unknown pieces. It could be the X part, or it could be a Y part. So follow that directions. You end up setting up an equation like this, where they're looking for the height. I like what they did here is they put the one with the variable first, and they subtracted the one with the numbers. I always like to have my variables first, kind of that standard form idea. And hopefully you can read that and understand why it's H minus 60, and then it's 230 minus 30, because it's 30, 360 is one of them is the station at. The other one's at 230 what for H. And here's your homework. As I said, they were pretty easy. You guys have been doing this for a while. Watch out for the twists. They're going to twist it out just a little bit. Think about it. Talk it over. Have a great day.